we have a section in the show we call I Believe. I don't know if you read in the newspapers today, revealed the homeopath in charge of King Charles's health. And I bring that up because King Charles, as you may or may not recall, is very, very hot on complementary alternative medicine, and he's probably the first king that really has spoken out about it. So joining me now is Nikki Cranio. She'll have to explain what it is she does. She's a craniosacral, I don't even know if I pronounced that right, Nikki, therapist, and I beg your pardon, Nikki Kendall, therapist and author. Nikki, did I even pronounce that correctly? And maybe you can tell us what it is.
Hello, Trish, and it's lovely to be here. Yes, it's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? So I'm a craniosacral therapist. So cranium, head, right down to the bottom of the spine, sacral therapist. So work on the head, neck and spine and the nervous system. And I'm an author on my pet subject, which is trauma, emotional stress in the gut and that nervous system there.
Right, so your speciality as well is the gut. Now, we've started to learn, I remember when we did You Are What You Eat, I was amazed to find out how the gut and what all the little goodies in our gut can aid our mental health. Our well-being and everything else are very overlooked because we just think of it as the place to have food.
Yes.
But what happens and what kind of food we put in there fuels our mind and our bodies.
Absolutely, and I think increasingly in the areas of mental health, psychology, psychiatry, as well as science, body science, it's becoming very obvious that mental health and well-being, happiness, in fact, does live in the gut, as does misery and emotional memory and trauma. And that is, we're understanding more and more about that recently.
And so what we put into our bodies is more than just, it can affect our mood. So how do you work with people to try to understand that? Because I can tell you, most people never connect what's in their stomachs with what's in their, with their mood and so on.
Yeah. Well, so I'm not a nutritional therapist, but of course, as you rightly say, what we put into our mouths, what we eat makes a huge difference to our physical and mental well-being. But I think my message is that the other thing which has a huge impact on how well our gut does or doesn't work is our life experience, our early childhood experience, our stress levels, trauma, all of those things have a massive impact on how well our gut can function, on how healthy our little gut microbes are as well.
So when somebody comes through your door, how do you work with them? Just give us sort of what you'd go through with them.
So I would take a really full history. It's quite a holistic approach, going from childhood on really, not just what they eat, but their life experience and how that may give us both insights into where they've got to where they are today, sitting in front of me. And then I also help them understand that the gut, the small and large intestines, we tend to think of it as a tube that our bowel movements go through, and that's about it, right? But actually it's a complex, wonderful, multi-layered, multifaceted system working with all the little gut bacteria. It's so complex. It's a modern data processing centre. And to just give them that awe and wonder and understanding of what it is and how moment by moment that part of us is always trying to work out how safe we feel. And we feel safe in the gut based on what our experience was this morning or yesterday or when we were 5. So it's just a bit of information and hoping to inspire people to realise how wonderful this system is and give them strategies as well, not just my work, but how you can deal with all that as well as the clean diet.
Now, it's interesting, isn't it? And we'll talk about your strategies, because as you're speaking, I'm just thinking people say, I've got a gut feeling.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, a lot of our language is around that. So what sort of strategies? Give me an example of some of the strategies you give your people who come along to see you.
Absolutely. So I think one thing, even knowing that past difficult experience or trauma can be part of what they're experiencing helps. I think feeling like you haven't got a clue what's going on or why it's not responding is always difficult. But if you have some idea of what's going on, that helps. And people often go, oh, I see now. And then really simple things like going for a walk. I mean, this is your gut bacteria love being taken for a walk in the fresh air. 30 minutes. It helps build your gut bacteria. It helps them to balance out from any difficult experiences. Learning to breathe well. There's good research showing how good functional breathing really helps the function of your gut. And of course, when we have difficult challenges in life, we often restrict our breathing, don't we?
Yes. Hold your breath.
Yeah, and it just stays in that pattern. So, learning to breathe well, going for a walk, and dealing with this old trauma. That really matters, whether you go and talk to a therapist or whether you just do some reflection on it. I think it's not internalising it all, and often a lot of it stays in the gut tissues and cells, is a huge thing. Just recognising that, maybe writing it down, painting a picture, going to a counsellor, whatever works for you as an individual, will have a big impact.
And we just been talking about grief and not sort of putting a lid on it and doing something about it. So that covers that. Now, again, yesterday there's a whole group of doctors and psychiatrists and what have you talking about the over-medicalisation. It's not... some people absolutely do need antidepressants, but we've come to the stage where we over-medicalise everything. We go to the pill bottle first, and they were talking about, adjunct, if I've got that right, but complementary, additional, thinking outside the medical sphere. So I'm guessing you'd very much applaud that approach.
Well, definitely. And like you, sometimes antidepressants are really important to get people through such a difficult place. But that can't be the only strategy, I don't think. And when you consider that in the gut we have 95% of our serotonin is manufactured and stored in the gut, 50% of our dopamine, and these are our happiness chemicals. And this is where they live. So it's important to deal with the deeper issues there. And I hope this is what I'm getting across in my book, to give people insights, but also ways they can deal with it and understand better what's going on. Because there are so many chronic gut issues that end up in hospital or to the doctor, and really there isn't much that can be done to help them. And then people feel hopeless and... So just before we run out of time, you must give us the title of your book. So my book is called Overcoming Chronic Digestive Conditions, Releasing the Visceral Layers of Post-Traumatic Gut. And post-traumatic gut is my own term because I have seen in myself and the people that come to me so much trauma held in the tissues of the gut. So I think it's just a good way to understand it.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for talking with us, Nikki. Nikki Kenwood there.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Talking about the gut. Hopefully that's made you think. And we do say that, don't we? I've got a gut feeling. There's a book, by the way, Overcoming Chronic Digestive Conditions. It's there.